Though he slay me, I will hope in him. People, we all know something's going on right now, really big. And what it is it's deception. Deception is coming. Everyone knows. What can you trust? Can't trust much these days. You can trust the word of God. You may not want to hear that, but it is what it is. This book is an amazing piece. I want to make it clear that everyone is welcome here. Everyone. I don't care if you're gay, straight, whatever, I don't care who you are. This is for everyone. Everyone. I'm not a pastor, I'm not a prophet, I'm not perfect, I don't pretend to be perfect. I'm acutely aware of my shortcomings. I know I'm not better than any one of you in any way. All flesh is corrupt. Not one is good. No, not even one. But anyway, we can jump right into it. The great deception of 2026. What will it be? It's going to be a religious deception. People, if you notice, everything, these stars and Hollywood and media, they're really starting to kind of cross over into, all right, well, we really kind of merge some, sci-fi-ish, spiritual type stuff. We're going to merge that and make that kind of the flavor of the day, it's been happening for a little bit. Look at Stranger Things, that's it seems sci-fi, but that's spiritual. That is spiritual stuff. What are spirits? They're energy. The Hebrew word daemon, D-A-E-M-O-N, means about 12 different things, and one of those meanings is intelligences. So it talks about demons many, many times in the end times, but some of those times it means intelligences. And I look at what a powerful tool of deception AI is becoming already. And I think it's going to be a key part of the infrastructure. I think it will be a key component for the deception to work on a lot of people. Coincidentally, in Matthew 24, Jesus and the disciples, this is like, the beginning of the last hurrah for Christ. The apostles already knew that he was going to die. He had already told them many times very plainly, look, I'm gonna be, killed or whatever. I'm not, I don't organize information like that well. But anyway, so they knew he was going to die and all that, but I think they thought that right away he was going to rise up and just defeat the armies and everything and crush everybody, and boom, here's the kingdom, and everything's going to be just like sweet and peachy. And that wasn't it. They were sitting there at this vantage point, this place, the Mount of Olives, I want to say it was. And they're looking, and it was like you got this panoramic view, of the temple that King Herod was building, which was the most magnificent, impressive structure in the entirety of the world at that point. I mean, this thing had walls that were adorned in gold, when and positioned such that when the sun was in a certain position, it was just like blinding. It was probably a super, super amazing thing to look at. Think about how people stand there and stare and take pictures of the Eiffel Tower or, Niagara Falls or whatever, even though Niagara Falls is a natural thing, we think. You think about all these things that people admire and just like are in awe about. That temple would have definitely been a thing like that. It was huge and it had gold all over it. Jesus looked at that, and the apostles were talking about how cool, how awesome it was and how cool it was. Oh, look at that temple, And I think they're in a way thinking we're going to run that. This is going to be our temple. We're going to be the ones in control here because the king. We're right here. We're his guys. And they're all looking at it and they're super impressed and everything. And Jesus says, surely, basically, I'm paraphrasing here, surely, not one stone will lay upon another here. Basically, he's telling them that the temple's going to be torn down. And what ended up happening was some Roman, I don't know who it was, set fire, basically piled up a bunch of wood around the walls of it and everything and set fire to it. And it basically, the heat shattered and dislocated all of the stones. It was a lot of marble and stuff. Marble's not a really heat resistant type stone or material like ceramic and things like that are. But anyway, Jesus said, hey, this thing's gonna fall. And right after that, this is what's really, really, really important to grasp. This is a very low-hanging fruit that so many people miss. What was Jesus's ministry about for 3.5 years? From the start to the finish, it was about religious deception. When he cleared out the temple twice with a whip alone, it was about religious deception. The religious authorities of the day were taking advantage of people. It was religious deception. It was like, I'm not going to say any names here. It was like, send $1,000 and we'll give you a prayer. And it'll be the best prayer. And God's definitely going to help. But you got to send me $1,000 now if I'm going to take this time. You got to support the Lord. That kind of thing right there is religious deception. That is not Christianity. It's not evangelism. It's not right. It's greed. The love of money is the root of all evil. The love of it. If you love money, you got a problem. If you can't turn from that money, it is what it is. If you can't preach in that pulpit for free and still feel good about it, you're in it for the wrong reasons. But anyway, that religious deception was why he cleared the temple twice alone. People go, oh, God's love and this and he is, but he's got a wrath too when it's appropriate. I can't imagine what that moment was like when Jesus alone with just a whip. He didn't come through there with like an AR-15 or, a Glock with a switch. He didn't do any of that. He didn't come through there with bear spray. You know what I'm saying? He didn't do any of that. He came through there with a whip alone and cleared the whole temple. How many people were in there? 100, 200? I don't know. But he cleared the whole temple. And these people were in it for the money. They were getting rich off of cheating people out of their money, exchanging it for sacrifices and stuff like that. But they were taking advantage of people right there in the temple, making money. people don't walk away from their money easy. So they must have been really, really scared of whatever they saw coming out of Jesus. Wrath and judgment. That's what they were seeing. But anyway, deception. Jesus was asked, now here's the power, here's the word right here. Jesus was asked, now as he was sitting on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately saying, "Tell us, when will these things happen? And what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age?" I'll read that again. As he was sitting on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately, saying, "Tell us, when will these things happen? And what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age?" The end of the age is the church age. It's the age of grace. We're in it right now. We're at the very last, 3-second warning, I mean, if you're going to take your shot for God, you better take it now. But anyway, so they're asking about the end of the church age and his coming. What will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age? They're asking him basically, when is this rapture going to be? When are we going to get raptured and the church age is going to be up? Because they're kind of confused, They're looking at this temple and all this is so cool. And he says, "Oh, it's going to get torn down," And then they're just like, wow, they see it all kind of converging to the, okay, well, he's about to die. We need to ask what we're going to ask. I think there was some of that urgency. So carrying forward here, Matthew 24:4, and Jesus answered and said to them, "See to it that no one deceives you." Now, let's think about this moment, that one sentence, "See to it that no one deceives you." Let's rewind and look at the big picture. God created, he destroyed at the flood. I guess that was about 1,500 years in. Christ, he came as Christ in the flesh, fully God, fully man. God was the other half of the DNA program. I mean, I don't know, but that's what happened. The only human there, the human DNA there, was Mary's. But God wrote the original program for DNA, so he kind of knows what he's doing there. But anyway, he came back as Jesus. He waited 30 years to begin his ministry. So think about this. God waited all this time to come after seeing everything he saw, after every disappointing creature, every disappointing thing, every travesty, every murder, all that, everything, all these terrible things. After all that, he is 3.5 years in ministry, warning us not of the bad people. I mean, that's pretty obvious, don't hang out at the crackhead's house, don't hang out at the meth head's house, don't hang out at the bar, don't be going to the bar, stay away from the brothel. We all know that stuff keeps itself going. We don't need to know that it's bad. What Christ warned us about was thinking we were going to heaven and not going to heaven. Religious deception. Thinking we were going to find our way to him and finding our way to torment. A loss, not a profit, as in gain. But anyway, the first thing out of his mouth after all of this time and 3.5 years in ministry, railing about false religion, deception, false believers, false teachers, false religion. after railing about that for 3 years to the point that the religious elite wanted to kill him. The religious elite. They were the, cardinals and popes and priests of the Catholic Church of that day. They were the works religion of that day. They were like, everybody looks at the Pope like he's the man, That's basically, who they were, the religious elite. They absolutely hated Jesus. They wanted to see him dead. He was saying things that were affecting their wallet. They didn't like it. He was exposing them for the liars and deceivers they were. He had all that time, and the first thing out of his mouth when he's asked about the end times was, see to it that you are not deceived. The first thing, see to it that no one deceives you. Deception. Is deception looking like it's on the rise lately? I mean, it looks like it's taking the world over to me. Deception. Everything's a deception. We're finding out that everything we've been taught about ourselves and our bodies and our food and our world and our planet and all this stuff, there's something off about every bit of it. Something off about every bit of it. See to it that no one deceives you. That was what Jesus said in the beginning, basically the beginning of his last sermon, the Olivet Discourse. But people, if you don't have a Bible, you really, really need to have one. I know a lot of people use like BibleStudyTools.com or BlueLetterBible.com or whatever it is. Anyway, I use a lot of that stuff too, but you need a hard copy. I use a John MacArthur Study Bible. This is a newest version of the Legacy Standard Bible. It's easy to read. It's plain English. Is it perfect? No. Man touched it. It ain't perfect. But I believe in a God who's powerful enough to preserve the intent of his message when that message is not twisted to fit the desires of man. I think the people that did the NASB and the LSB, I think they endeavored, at least most of them, to get to the truth of God's word. But this right here, you can get them for about $70 on eBay, brand new. And it's like having a seminary education in your hand. And the notes in here really, really help you wrap your head around what you're reading. But what I'm trying to start here is a series of videos, God willing. Energy is an issue for me, and motivation and focus and all that. It's a very, very difficult thing for me to make a video. But anyway, I'm going to try to kind of just work through some of this low-hanging fruit that's relevant right now. Some of it might be offensive to you. Some of it might not be what you want to hear, but it's what you need to hear, or it wouldn't be in this Bible. It's what God wanted you to hear, or it would not be in here. I was not always a Christian. I was as far from God as I could be. I was absolutely the enemy of God. I can't even believe that I'm sitting here right now caring at all about God. I don't know. Maybe someday I'll tell that testimony, but he can change a man's heart. My gods were self and money, and outside of that, I didn't really care about anything. I cared about some people around me and friends and stuff like that. but business was first. Business. All about the business. But God had other ideas. He had other ideas. I trust his judgment. I'm sitting right now talking to you about God, about his word. The moral of the story today is Christ's ministry was about deception. When he was asked about the end times, he said, see to it that no one deceives you. With all this AI, there's massive deception. I think we can all agree there's at least a teeny tiny little bit of deception coming from the people we trust to kind of drive the car here. They're driving the car as fast as they can right off the cliff, I think. I think they've allowed their debauchery and their depravity and their fleshly desires and their desires to be accepted and heartily approved of by their fellow man, their peers. I think they've let all that paint them into a corner